The cameras expected tradition. What they captured instead felt like a shift in destiny. William and Catherine stepped forward with a presence that didn't suggest preparation. It suggested arrival. Every glance, every movement, every pause hinted at something larger unfolding behind palace walls. When the doors opened that day, it was supposed to feel ceremonial, another polished moment in a monarchy built on continuity. Instead, the atmosphere carried a different weight. Those watching closely sensed it immediately. This wasn't the familiar rhythm of tradition repeating itself. It felt like a recalibration, a subtle moment where the future stopped waiting politely and began stepping into the present. William's presence commanded attention in a way that felt newly grounded. Gone was the impression of a prince patiently standing in line. What stood in his place was a man shaped by years of expectation, discipline, and quiet preparation. His posture was controlled, his expressions measured, his demeanor calm but unmistakably firm. He didn't look like someone rehearsing for leadership. He looked like someone already carrying it. Beside him, Catherine radiated a steady confidence that reshaped the energy of the room. Her composure wasn't decorative. It felt intentional, anchored, and quietly authoritative. After the challenges she had faced in recent years, her return to the spotlight carried more than grace. It carried resolve. Every detail of her presence communicated stability, strength, and reassurance, not through spectacle, but through certainty. Observers noted how differently the pair moved compared to previous appearances. Their dynamic no longer felt like symbolic support for the reigning monarch. It felt like partnership in leadership. Their pacing, positioning, and interaction suggested alignment, strategy, and shared purpose. To seasoned royal watchers, it hinted at a deeper shift, a transition not announced aloud, but visible in tone, timing, and intent. Behind the polished optics, pressure had been building for months. Speculation surrounding King Charles's health had fueled public uncertainty, and the palace needed to project strength, continuity, and confidence. The appearance wasn't just about tradition. It was about reassurance, a visual statement that the institution remained secure, steady, and prepared for whatever lay ahead. But what made the moment feel different was the subtle sense that this reassurance wasn't theoretical anymore. William and Catherine weren't being presented as future leaders in training. They were being positioned as present anchors. The message seemed clear without being spoken. The monarchy's stability no longer rested on possibility. It rested on readiness. Small details reinforced that impression. The way William acknowledged officials, the way Catherine commanded attention without seeking it, the way cameras lingered on them longer than expected, the way the crowd responded, not with casual admiration, but with a sense of recognition. It felt less like watching heirs and more like witnessing figures already carrying responsibility. For many viewers, it might look like another elegant royal engagement. But for those attuned to symbolism, timing, and power, it felt like a marker, a line quietly crossed, a signal that the balance within the institution was evolving, not through loud announcements or dramatic proclamations, but through presence, positioning, and composure. And if this appearance marked more than tradition, if it represented a subtle shift in authority, then the real story wasn't what the cameras showed. It was what the palace wasn't saying. By the time this moment unfolded, the pressure surrounding the crown had already been building for years. Quietly at first, then louder in headlines, whispers, and online speculation. Reports about King Charles's health had fueled growing uncertainty, with commentators and royal watchers questioning how prepared the monarchy truly was for sudden change. The palace, long practiced in managing optics, understood one thing clearly. Public confidence depended on visible stability. Rumors suggested that behind closed doors, conversations about succession had shifted from distant hypotheticals to urgent planning. What had once been a future discussion became a present concern, not because of panic, but because of prudence. The monarchy could not afford to look unsteady, especially in an era where every hesitation becomes a viral moment. This is where William and Catherine's increasing visibility took on new meaning. Their expanded role wasn't just about modernizing the royal image. It looked strategic. Appearances were no longer scattered. They were structured, coordinated, purposeful. Each engagement felt like part of a broader narrative, one designed to remind the public that the future of the crown was not uncertain, but carefully secured. Royal insiders, according to unverified reports, began treating William less like a supporting figure and more like a central decision-maker. Briefings reportedly reached him earlier. Meetings reportedly included him more directly. His tone in public shifted. Less ceremonial, more assured. Less deferential, more decisive. The transformation was subtle, but difficult to ignore once noticed. At the same time, Catherine's role appeared to expand in a way that went beyond tradition. She wasn't just attending events. She was shaping tone, messaging, and presence. Her public image evolved from graceful supporter to composed authority. Where once her influence felt gentle, it now felt strategic. Calm but firm. Warm but controlled. A balance that projected reassurance at a time when reassurance was desperately needed. From the outside, this could be seen as routine modernization. But royal watchers believe the timing tells a deeper story. As concerns around the king's stamina and longevity circulated, the palace needed a visible counterweight. A reminder that leadership continuity was not a gamble. William and Catherine became that reminder. The Westminster appearance, then, was not random. It felt like a message crafted in response to mounting questions. A visual answer to doubts no official statement could fully silence. Instead of denying speculation, the monarchy appeared to lean into it, presenting strength not through denial, but through demonstration. Yet what gave this moment its tension was the sense that it wasn't merely symbolic. It didn't feel like preparation. It felt like practice in real time. The body language, the confidence, the pacing, all suggested they weren't waiting for a future handover. They were already carrying part of the present. To some observers, it looked like the early stages of a soft transition, not an abdication, not a formal announcement, but a gradual redistribution of influence, a monarchy easing itself into its next chapter without ever admitting it was doing so. And if the palace was quietly shifting its center of gravity toward William and Catherine, then the appearance wasn't just a show of unity. It was a calculated response to pressure, rumor, and public expectation, a signal that the crown was preparing for change long before the world was meant to notice. But if this moment was designed to project unity and stability, the real tension was still hidden beneath the surface, and it was about to surface in a way no one had planned. What happened next is a part the palace never officially explained. The moment that fueled weeks of speculation, whispered insider claims, and endless online debate. According to royal watchers, the tension that day didn't come from the public stage alone. It came from an unexpected shift in balance, one tied to Queen Camilla's presence and the subtle power dynamics unfolding in real time. Rumors suggest that something about her positioning during the event unsettled the carefully choreographed order, whether it was a breach of protocol, an unplanned movement, or simply a symbolic misstep. Observers claim it created a ripple effect through the room. In an institution where every step is rehearsed, even a minor deviation can feel like a statement. Some reports claim Camilla appeared more assertive than expected, seemingly testing boundaries of visibility and influence at a moment meant to spotlight the future generation. Others suggest it wasn't confrontation, but miscalculation, an attempt to reinforce relevance that instead highlighted shifting priorities. Either way, trained eyes in the crowd reportedly picked up on it instantly. William's reaction, according to unverified accounts, was minimal but telling. He remained composed, posture controlled, expression steady, the kind of stillness that reads less like restraint and more like authority. Catherine, meanwhile, appeared hyper-aware of the moment. A brief glance, a subtle adjustment, a quiet recalibration of presence that, to insiders, signaled both awareness and control. Nothing explosive happened. No public argument. No visible conflict. But that's precisely what made it more powerful. In the monarchy, silence often speaks louder than confrontation. And in that silence, many sense an invisible line had been crossed. Speculation quickly spread that the moment triggered private conversations behind palace doors. Not dramatic confrontations, but controlled reassessments. Discussions about optics, influence, messaging, future roles. The kind of strategic recalculations that never make headlines, but quietly redefine power. Royal commentators began suggesting that Camilla's influence, once expanding, may have met a ceiling, not because of scandal, but because of perception. In an era where public sentiment matters more than ever, even the impression of internal friction can prompt swift adjustment, and insiders claim the palace is ruthless when it comes to protecting the crown's image. From that point forward, subtle shifts reportedly became noticeable. Fewer headline appearances, slightly reduced prominence at key events, invitations and positioning that felt more measured than before. Nothing overt, nothing officially confirmed, but enough to spark speculation that her role was being quietly recalibrated. Meanwhile, William and Catherine's visibility seemed to rise in direct contrast. Where one presence appeared to recede, theirs expanded, engagements increased, messaging tightened, symbolism sharpened. The monarchy's public face began to feel more centralized around them, younger, steadier, and more in tune with modern expectations. To many observers, it looked like more than coincidence. It felt like a silent correction, a recalibration designed to restore balance after a moment that threatened to blur it. If true, the tension wasn't personal, it was institutional, not about rivalry but relevance, not about emotion but optics. In a system built on hierarchy, symbolism, and perception, even the slightest disruption can trigger strategic realignment. And while the public saw only a polished ceremony, royal insiders believe that behind the scenes, that moment became a catalyst, the quiet spark that accelerated a larger shift already in motion. But if that tension led to a behind-the-scenes reset, what happened next wasn't loud or dramatic. It was colder, more controlled, and it began with decisions made far from cameras, inside the sealed corridors of Buckingham Palace. Behind the palace gates, the response to that moment was swift, silent, and unmistakably strategic. There were no public statements, no official acknowledgments, no dramatic fallout. Instead, change unfolded the way power often does inside old institutions. Quietly, efficiently, and without asking for attention. According to unverified insider accounts, meetings began almost immediately. Advisors reassessed optics. Schedules were reviewed. Future appearances were reconsidered with a sharper lens. What had once been routine suddenly felt deliberate. The monarchy was no longer reacting to tradition. It was reacting to risk. At the center of this recalibration was a growing realization. The public needed clarity, not complexity. Confidence, not confusion. And the clearest source of that confidence appeared to be William and Catherine. From that point forward, their presence reportedly became more than symbolic. Their involvement deepened. Decisions that once flowed upward now increasingly flowed through them. Engagements were assigned with intention. Messaging was streamlined. Their voices, according to reports, carried more weight in shaping tone, direction, and timing. William's role, in particular, seemed to expand behind the scenes. Briefings became more frequent. Strategic discussions reportedly began involving him earlier in the process. Observers noted a shift in how he carried himself. Less like a successor waiting his turn, more like a leader already managing responsibility in real time. Catherine's influence also appeared to evolve. Rather than serving solely as a public-facing figure, she was rumored to play a stronger role in shaping outreach, narrative, and presentation. Her appearances felt more curated, more purposeful, and more aligned with a long-term image of stability and approachability. She wasn't just representing the monarchy, she was helping define how it should be seen. In contrast, speculation suggested that another presence within the royal structure began to recede. Camilla's visibility, once steadily increasing, appeared to soften. Invitations reportedly became more selective. Appearances at high-profile events were less frequent. Her public role didn't disappear, but it seemed to narrow. No scandal was announced. No official demotion occurred. Instead, it felt like a quiet narrowing of influence, a subtle distancing designed to prevent friction and protect the institution's forward-facing unity. Royal commentators framed it not as punishment, but as prioritization. In moments of uncertainty, institutions often simplify their messaging, and the message being simplified here appeared to revolve around one core image, continuity anchored in the next generation. Meanwhile, King Charles reportedly approached the situation with a calm that surprised many observers. Rather than allowing emotion or loyalty to dictate his response, he appeared focused on control, legacy, and long-term stability. His actions, according to speculation, reflected a choice to protect the crown above personal dynamics. Behind closed doors, schedules shifted, patronages were reassigned, visibility was redistributed, staff adjusted without announcement. The machine kept running, but with a slightly different center of gravity. To the public, these changes might have seemed invisible, but to those watching closely, the pattern was hard to miss. William and Catherine were no longer being eased into prominence. They were being placed there. It didn't feel like a dramatic takeover. It felt like a controlled handover of influence, slow, methodical, and intentionally quiet. The monarchy wasn't announcing a new era. It was slipping into one. And as the silent transition continued behind palace walls, it became harder to ignore a growing truth. The crown's emotional and symbolic center was shifting. Not because of ceremony, but because of confidence. But if power was already being redistributed so carefully, the real question wasn't whether William and Catherine were rising. It was whether the crown had already chosen its future, long before the public realized the present had changed. By the time the public began to sense that something had changed, the shift was already complete. There were no trumpets, no declarations, no formal announcement that power had moved. Instead, authority settled quietly where it felt most stable, around William and Catherine. Their influence did not arrive through force or ambition. It arrived through composure, through consistency, through a kind of calm that made leadership feel inevitable rather than imposed. Every appearance carried a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't ask for approval but earns it naturally. William's presence began to feel less like preparation and more like command. His public tone sharpened, direct, grounded, and purposeful. Where once he spoke as a prince supporting a reigning monarch, he now spoke with the assurance of someone shaping outcomes. Royal watchers noted that his decisions appeared more decisive, his timing more strategic, his authority more widely acknowledged within palace operations. Catherine, meanwhile, refined a different kind of power, one built on perception, emotional intelligence, and control of narrative. Her role expanded beyond ceremonial duty into something more influential. She didn't just attend engagements. She shaped how those engagements resonated. Her public image evolved into a symbol of reassurance. Modern, composed, relatable, and unwavering under pressure. Together, they projected a unity that felt unbreakable, not performative, not rehearsed, but grounded in shared responsibility and quiet certainty. Where the monarchy had once felt divided by competing personalities and shifting influence, it now appeared centered, anchored to a pair who embodied both tradition and evolution. In contrast, other figures within the royal structure seemed to fade from prominence, not erased, not publicly sidelined, simply repositioned. Their visibility softened, their influence narrowed. The monarchy's public focus streamlined toward a single message: stability through the next generation. Observers described it as a reset, not a revolution, but a recalibration. The crown did not fall. It did not fracture. It simply adjusted its balance, placing its weight where confidence felt strongest. The moment at Westminster Abbey, once framed as routine, began to look like a turning point in hindsight, a symbolic instant where preparation ended and responsibility quietly began. When King Charles stepped forward that day with resolve, it felt less like tradition and more like a signal, not a retreat, but of alignment, a choice to secure the institution's future before uncertainty could claim it. History often disguises its biggest shifts as ordinary events. People only recognize them later, when patterns become impossible to ignore. And as months passed, one truth became increasingly clear. The monarchy's center of gravity had already moved. The future was no longer theoretical. It was visible, active, present. The crown had not been seized. It had not been demanded. It had simply settled where it belonged, carried by quiet authority rather than spectacle, shaped by confidence rather than confrontation. So, what do you think this first appearance truly revealed about power, timing, and the future of the crown? Was it just another royal moment or the silent beginning of a new era? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into hidden power, royal intrigue, and untold influence, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay locked in, because the next story might reveal even more than this one.